Hey everyone, welcome to the Period Party. I'm Nicole.
Hi everybody, I'm Nat.
And on this episode, we're discussing the mental training tools for balanced hormones with Megan Kelly. She's a nutrition practitioner and licensed esthetician specializing in neurobiology and quantum hormonology. Can't wait to jump into that. Her work guides people on how to transform their body and mind through functional nutrition, mental and emotional training, and habit mastery. Megan speaks and educates on how to create a healthy, fit body, an unstoppable mind, and a life full of passion and purpose. Welcome to the show, Megan.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. I love talking with you too.
Oh yeah, we're very excited.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very excited. So Megan, I want to know, how the heck did you get into this? Because there's a lot of goodness here.
Yeah, so a very abbreviated version is I basically just started struggling with hormonal issues, amenorrhea, acne, mood swings, and my husband and I really wanted to get pregnant. So through that whole journey, I discovered functional medicine and became a functional medicine practitioner, and that completely changed my life. I love that entire world. But after a couple years of doing it, I even noticed with myself and a lot of my clients that a lot of just diet and detox and supplements and even kind of basic relaxation techniques weren't necessarily fixing everything, and they weren't getting 100% better. So that's kind of when I started diving into neurobiology and neuroscience and quantum hormonology, and just basically the incredible power just of our mind over our body and our emotions. And so that's kind of a big part of my practice now, is I focus a lot on the mental and emotional aspects of hormonal balance, because I've kind of found that's a huge pillar to start with.
Absolutely. But what's quantum hormonology?
So basically, quantum hormonology is looking at the energy systems of your body and your hormones and what generates your hormones. So it's basically looking at how your mind affects your brain and how your brain affects your body and can make changes to your body. Mm-hmm. And also just probably a lot of stuff that you are probably really interested in, that just the kind of the different energy systems of the body, and basically how all of that works and flows together, and how you can tell when things are blocked and what parts are blocked. And instead of just looking at the actual physical components, like kind of diet, nutrition, it looks kind of at the body from a more energetic standpoint, and really incorporating the mind into that healing.
Wow.
Yeah, fascinating.
Yeah, this is so fast. I know, I love it too. So I would love to, obviously you shared your story with us and what was going on with your own health. And I feel like everybody has a story that's very similar to that, especially the women's hormonal health people. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I know, right? We're all coming from a place of major hormone imbalance. Yes. But I'm curious about, these states of being parasympathetic versus sympathetic, and what do those mean? And, what emotions or stresses put you in that shutdown state? Because I really like this idea of just being in one of two states. It simplifies it for a lot of women who are in a state of chronic stress. So I'd love to hear your opinion or your thoughts on that.
Yeah, exactly. This is kind of the biggest point that I ever talk about with anyone, because basically your body and every cell in our body can only be in one of two states at any given time. So parasympathetic or sympathetic. So when you're in a sympathetic state, which is also known as fight or flight, your immune system, your endocrine system, your digestive system are all thrown off balance and basically shut down, which are very important for hormonal balance. And then when you're in a parasympathetic state, which is also kind of known as a relaxation state, all of those systems in your body are running how they should, and they can heal anything that you have going on. But the problem is we are in a sympathetic state so pretty much all of the time now, because it's the little things and emotions that we feel, like anger or fear. Fear is a big one that a lot of women are feeling in a lot of different areas in their lives. That's basically turning off their hormonal system. And you could be eating the best food and supplements in the world, but if you're in that state, your hormones can't function how they should, because like you talk about a lot, Nicole, just your body's making stress hormones instead of sex hormones. So
Yep.
it's really, really important to kind of get that concept down and to identify the areas in your life and the emotions that you're feeling and the reactions that you're having to certain situations in your life that are putting you in a sympathetic state or a fight or flight state. Because that's the goal is just to get in a healing state, because when your body is that, your body's amazing and it knows how to heal. We just have to take away what's putting it into that fight or flight response.
Yep, that sounds about right. I mean, it is really amazing how much we overlook that in a way. I think that women don't even realize when they're in that state. I mean, is there a way for someone to tell that they're in a sympathetic state?
Yeah, basically, I mean, it's hard. I mean, there's more dramatic times where you can actually feel anxiety and when you're feeling actually stressed out, but we don't really notice it when we're just worrying about our money or our family or our food. So that's kind of where we have to get the head knowledge that worrying about all these things is actually putting our body into a state where it can't heal. So it's basically any negative emotion or thought. And it doesn't have to be as extreme as that, but just kind of a good guideline. If you're going down the rabbit hole of worry and fear and stress and envy and any kind of negative side of emotion, your body is kind of shutting down. And so my goal is that I like to focus on is, like, we're going to have daily stressors in our lives and we're going to get triggered and we're going to feel emotions, but we can't avoid that. But what I really like to focus on is how we can stay in a healing state even when we get triggered. So that's kind of what I like to focus on with all my clients.
And do you have any standout? I have something to add to this that I actually am thinking we should all try on, because Nicole, you just said, how do you know if you're in a parasympathetic state or a sympathetic state? Now, my understanding is that one of the only ways that we can, switch it from being in fight or flight is through breath. Is quite powerful to do that.
Yes.
And I learned something the other day, but can I try it on?
Yeah.
Can we do it together? Okay. So we know that it's as little as 5 breaths, right, that can switch you from parasympathetic to sympathetic, right? So try it on. Shut your eyes, and we're going to do 5. You've got to do 5 deep breaths, and you're going to do it loud enough that people listening can do it with us and hear us breathing. Okay. And then at the end, I'll tell you whether you're in. It's just 5 breaths, okay? So let's do it together. Ready? This is funny. All right, so on the count of 3, we're going to take a really deep breath in and make sure that your belly's expanding. And then you're going to let it all out and make sure that you're letting all of the air out so that everything contracts again. And take another deep breath in. So this will be number 2. Big deep breath in. And then all the way out. And I'm going to do it again. Deep breath in. And all the way out. Number 4, deep breath in. All the way out. And last one, deep breath in. And all the way out. And before you think of anything else, I want you to notice, is your tongue on the top of your mouth or the bottom of your mouth? Now you can tell me.
Mine was on the bottom.
Mine's on the top.
Okay, so apparently if your tongue is resting on the top, you are still in fight or flight, you're not ready to eat. Your tongue is like in the way, telling you you need to do more of what you've just done. But if your tongue is resting at the bottom, you're ready to eat, you're ready to rest and digest.
That's probably because it's dinner time here. I don't know.
I do not know how true that is, but I just wanted to try it on for educational purposes.
No, that's good. But
That's really interesting.
When I do breathing techniques, I usually put some my tongue behind my teeth and like a certain way that you breathe kind of throughout. So I was doing that kind of just like breathing technique. So that's probably why that was happening.
I don't know, but maybe for people that aren't in the habit of anything like that, it can be a really useful check-in, because the whole idea is that if you're ready to rest, if you're ready to digest, your body will allow you to. But if your tongue's resting upwards, your body's saying, can't do this right now. Go back and repeat the process.
That's awesome. All right. I
Thank
like
you.
that. I'm glad that we had a little mini meditation on the period party.
I just wanted to try it on with someone else other than myself.
It's all good, Nat. We get where you're coming from.
It's not about me.
I love that, the breath, because like what I like to say a lot is your breath is kind of like your digestive system for your emotions. So it helps kind of process everything, and it really helps move your emotions through your body and calms your nervous system. So breathing is, as simple as it is, it's one of the most powerful things you can do.
Yeah, I mean, you did a technique you get your clients to and patients to do or utilize a lot. I find it extremely useful. I also find a lot of people hold their breath and they don't even realize that they're doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I find myself doing that even if I'm just working throughout the day. It's crazy how easy it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, like I said, we can't, in that state of breath, and when we're practicing diaphragmic breath, I don't think that we can actually be in any other state if we are fully focused on what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's quite interesting. But, I mean, a lot of people don't make the time for it either, do they? They're just like, I don't have time for that. No, it's such a challenge. Yeah. So, I mean, what are some of the, I know we sort of touched on this, but are there any other common habits that you find people are engaging in that are keeping them in that fight or flight mode?
Yeah, the most common kind of mindset kind of habits that I think a lot of us deal with are worry. So we're worrying all the time about our money, about our job, about the food, about our health. So worry and fear kind of go together. And even comparison, just thinking that you should be farther along than you are, you should be doing more than you're doing. Lack. So if you think that I never have enough time, I never have enough money, just kind of all of those are there's stress on your body. They're signaling to your body that there's a problem. And so it's hard because we do that almost every day in one of those areas. So it's kind of just about becoming aware and interrupting that automatic thinking pattern to switch into a healing state.
Yeah, but we get in the habit of it, right? We get in the habit of thinking like those things, and then how do we get ourselves out of that habit? Like, how do we change our thoughts around those patterns and beliefs and sort of get out of autopilot?
Right, and so the very first thing is just to become aware of it. So,
like awareness of our breath.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
we're just not
our
aware
tongue.
of anything.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, just aware of our emotions, our body. We actually don't take a lot of time to just stop and see where we're at, or even stop and think what we're thinking about. Because basically whatever we have wired into our mind right now is just where our mind goes on autopilot when any situation happens. So the more we can come with a practice of just stopping and checking in where we're at, what am I thinking about? Am I worrying about money? Am I comparing? And once you notice that, you can know that that's just the habit and the pathway your mind has right now. So that's where your brain automatically goes. But the more you notice it and shift your emotional state and shift your thoughts on whatever issue you're dealing with, the more that can become your new automatic reaction and perception of life. So it's basically just about becoming aware and shifting. And the more you do that, the more you can choose what state you want to actually be in most of the time.
I love what you wrote in your pre-show notes about this. Like you talked about every thought you think is a physical structure in your brain that looks like a tree. And the more you think about something, the more that structure grows. And if you worry all of the time, feel lack or compare all of the time, you've basically wired that into your brain and it has become your automatic response because those are the paths that are already there. So it's basically like creating thought patterns within your brain, and now you have to sort of rewire them essentially.
Exactly, which is such a huge realization when you realize that based on just your whole life's experiences and everything. For me personally, I'd struggled a lot with anxiety and worry. And then I kind of realized, just based on how I grew up and that's how I reacted to everything, I realized I thought about it so much. Those are the physical pathways I created in my mind. So I had to take a period of time where I broke those down and physically rebuilt new pathways to kind of view that perspective on worry, and I am just a completely different person. It's just incredible what you can do when you intentionally choose to build whatever pathway you want into your mind. So we can physically wire anything in and out that we want. And that's a huge, huge gift.
Oh my gosh, it's
And
amazing.
how would you do that?
Yeah, I know. That was my next question. Tell us everything you know.
Like, we need to know it all.
I know. And this is what I love. So I'm not going to get super deep into this, but as a quick overview, it takes about 62 days to break pathways down in your brain and to build new pathways up. So if you can be aware of this is what I'll give you an example. This is what I do every month, okay? I choose one mindset that I want to wire out and one mindset that I want to wire in. And I focus on these two things for at least 2 months, every single day, just being consciously aware. Okay, I used to react like that. I'm not going to react like this. This is how I'm going to react instead. And it feels weird at first because it's not your natural reaction. So you're not going to feel like yourself. But when you choose to react how you want to react, you're physically building in those pathways. And so by the end, it's actually in your subconscious. So that becomes your new automatic reaction without thinking about it. So it takes thinking about it for a good 2 months, but after that, it's wired into your brain, so it's your automatic kind of reaction.
Okay, so you basically were saying in the notes that you sent us, it takes 3 cycles of 21 days to destroy these old pathways and rebuild new ones. So that's essentially what you're saying then, over a period of 2 months.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. Which is, I mean, it sounds long if you think about it, but if you knew that you could wire something out and not struggle with it anymore, if you just kind of were intentional about it for a certain amount of time, it's life-changing. And then you can just go on to the next one. Like, I'm always working on something, but it's really, really helping me and how I perceive any area of life.
This is so fascinating. It's really interesting because I think that this is one of the biggest problems for women, is this emotional, psychological stress that we're chronically facing. And for women to understand that they actually do have complete control over a lot of their responses to this stress, I think is really empowering and can be really life-changing for so many people.
Oh, yeah, super empowering.
I think it's empowering for a lot of people, but I also think for some people, they just put it in the too hard basket and they're like, well, you don't, and we always find excuses as to why we can't do things. So it can be also confronting for some women to go, what do you mean it's my fault that these things might be happening based on my thoughts and my experience in life? Like, what do you mean that I've, led myself on a path of, let's say, some type of hormone imbalance? How dare you suggest that? Do you ever get that sort of response?
Oh yeah, there's definitely, I definitely get that response, and it's hard. Like, you have to be in a certain place to believe and know that your thoughts actually do matter, and you can accept that or you can't. And there's a lot of people that don't want to accept that. And there's not really much we can do about that.
Right. I know. The people who come to you are either ready or they're not.
True. Exactly. Totally. A lot of people will do the diet and they'll do anything I tell them to do with diet and supplements and all of that. But if I tell them, or if I talk to them about their emotional state and what emotions they express the most, that's where they kind of shut down and they don't really want to go into it. So it's just wherever you are in your journey. Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. So what about this, like viewing a stressful situation differently? Because this is obviously, I think, builds on what you've just been talking about. But this idea that you can view stress positively, sort of surrender to what you can't control, remain grateful, all of these things that I feel like we all talk about all the time, just so that you can stay in that healing state and your hormones are protected rather than chronically assaulted. So I'd love to hear something on that, because I think that we are never taught that stress can be positive or have a positive effect in our bodies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of the times when we think about being grateful and having positive thoughts, it just kind of, a lot of people get turned off by it. But the thing to know is that stress is actually not bad, and it can actually be really, really good and help you. So it's not stress or the circumstances around you that's the signal that turns off your body, but it's your thoughts about whatever's going on. That's the signal to your body, whether it stays in a healing mode or if it goes into fight or flight. So you could be going through the most stressful situation of all time, but if your thoughts about it are positive, and if you think that this stress is actually making you stronger, and if you just kind of remain grateful and focus on what you do want, your body stays in a healing state and your hormones are protected. So whatever situation, it's like a cheesy saying, but you can't control the events and circumstances in your life, but you can control your reaction, and that reaction controls how your body reacts. So it's
I think it's
Yeah.
It's quite profound and especially if you've actually been able to try it on and then see how it goes. And I don't know what about you, but I often say to patients, try it on with the little things that aren't a big deal. And the more that you do that, then you can start to filter it into what is a big deal.
Oh, totally,
exactly.
right? I mean, you could start with very basic things, like you were saying, Nat, like things that aren't a big deal, like maybe something that you might have eaten that we all tend to stress about, something that we've eaten that might not have been the best thing for us at that time. But I think that so many women
or
can
even just
really
like,
focus on
running
that.
late. Yeah, or even just running late to work, or I don't know. We choose stress in so many moments that we don't need to choose that in, and that's just because it's our default, it's our habit, and that's it's not necessarily a good one. We should save it, like you said. Stress is good if we know how to nurture it, but we should also save it for when we actually need it.
Exactly, yeah. And it is a skill. Like the more you do it, the more you will automatically do it. So that's the great part about it.
For sure. What about you? I was curious about your 4 tools for protecting your hormones from the negative effects of stress. I mean, obviously, this is, again, building on what all we've just been talking about, but I would love to hear about those and how women can implement them.
Yeah, so the first tool that I really like to just start with, and this has a lot to do with the quantum hormonology stuff, because a lot of scientists and researchers are studying this state called coherence. And what coherence is it's a body state where your hormonal system, your digestive system, your immune system are all working completely in harmony. And even, this sounds crazy too, but even just kind of your energetic kind of residence around you is incredible. They can measure what it's doing to other people around you when you're in this state. And it's basically like a hormone reset. If you can get into this state every day, amazing things begin to happen. So really simple. This is all you do. So just take a couple seconds each day to just focus on your heart area and just breathe in and out. Just slow, deep breaths, just focusing on your heart. And really focus on an emotion of gratitude or appreciation or a place you think is beautiful and really love. And the longer you can hold that emotion in your body, it's amazing, incredible what actually is happening in your body while you are in that state and while you're holding that emotion and thinking about what's going on. Your immune system, your hormone system, everything is running how it should. And amazing healing actually begins to happen when you're in that state and when you're doing that exercise. So if you could do that every day, it's really like a hormone reset.
How long do you suggest to do that for?
I would at least 2 minutes.
Okay. Like hand over your heart kind of thing?
Yeah. The hand over your heart is amazing. And the Institute of Heart Math, if you really want to go into that deeper, go and study that. And if like you guys were saying, how can you tell if you're in parasympathetic or sympathetic? You can actually measure it if you want to get a heart rate monitor.
I have one, actually. I love my heart math. Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, it's literally reading your body, and it's the best way to tell whether you're in that state. That's very true.
Exactly. So that's the best way if you really want to get into this and kind of train your body and know how to train yourself, how to feel when you're in it or not. That is an excellent way to do that.
I love it.
Yeah.
You know what? I think the heart functions, is it 8 times faster than the brain or something? Is that right?
Really?
That's why this practice is because it's also about like bringing yourself back into your body rather than in your head.
Yeah, exactly. Your heart is kind of like, they call it like your second brain. It's really powerful.
You know what's interesting from a Chinese medicine perspective is the heart is what triggers ovulation.
Really?
Not obviously it's not what actually triggers ovulation, but when we treat very often if there's a disconnect between the heart and the uterus, that is basically why someone won't be ovulating.
Oh, wow. I did not know
Fascinating.
This. Yeah.
And then all these things relate back to the heart. Whenever I find something out about the heart, I'm always like, oh, yeah. That's awesome.
You're like, I know this. I've known this all the time, all along.
I know it. Yep.
So, Megan, what's that next one out of those 4 tools?
So the next tool that I really like to just kind of use and just be aware of is just the part of your brain that is your filter. It's called your reticular activating system. Mm-hmm. It basically, so you're taking in billions of information every second, and your mind's only giving you what you have kind of deemed important by your habitual mental setup. So if you have just been worrying a lot, if you worry a lot, your brain is physically scanning the world to give you more things to notice, to worry about. If you are thinking about your health, like if you're focusing on how bad your health is, how bad you feel, your mind, you're basically signaling your body to give you more reasons to feel like that. So whatever we're kind of thinking about the most, especially right when you wake up and right before you go to bed, are the most powerful times to set the filter of your mind. You set that filter, and then your mind goes out and scans the world and gives you reasons and validates whatever your filter is. So if you wake up and you think I feel terrible, you're literally going to find tons of reasons why you feel terrible. But it's amazing when you start doing this the other way. You wake up, think about what you're grateful for and what you do want to look like. It's amazing what you start to notice and how your body changes according to kind of how you set this filter of your mind. So it's just kind of a cool way to know that your brain is actually working for you, but it can also work against you based on how you set your filter.
Totally. I was kind of laughing because I was thinking that, so many of us look at our phones immediately and social media, and that's a really horrible way to set your day up. And of course, like you were saying, you don't have space in your brain to think about anything else. So that worry tree keeps growing, basically.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. This is great. So what's number 3?
Okay, so number 3 this is just kind of, I can go through this really fast because we kind of talked about it a lot with the breathing. Like I said, your breath it really processes your emotions. So we're going to have emotions every day that kind of get us into that fight or flight. And that's not bad, but if we know how to process the emotions, because emotions are literally energy, they need to be moved through your body. And if you don't move them through, and if you just kind of ignore them, they literally get stuck in your body and begin to cause imbalances. So we just need to learn. This could be a whole other podcast about how to kind of release emotions, but
no kidding, we'll have you back.
Yeah, there's so many things you can do for it. There really is, and you need that because we feel emotions every day. We just need to know what to do with them, basically.
Totally.
So if we can just when we're feeling something, you're triggered with your anxiety, you have anger, anything you're triggered with. If you can stop, take deep breaths into that and label exactly what you're feeling. So say, I am angry, I am worried, I am fearful. That thing alone actually calms your amygdala and your nervous system and turns the front part of your brain on to help you think clearly. So even just breathing, labeling it, taking a second to stop and do that is incredible. And then just one quick way, there's tons of ways you can do this, but then just do something to change your emotional state. So that could be honestly just shaking, like jumping up and down and shaking. That actually gets that emotion released. Standing in a power pose, we could talk all about that too. Just something to change your emotional state. So stop, breathe, label, and move, basically.
Wow.
Is an amazing way to just shift your emotional state and get back into a healing state.
It's like stop, drop, and roll.
Yeah, exactly. I think about that. I'm like, stop, breathe, label, move.
I know, I'm thinking of Charlie's Angels
all the time.
Oh my gosh, I know. That's hysterical. Okay, and then your 4th tool.
So the 4th tool, and this could be a really long thing too, but just visualization. It truly is one of the most powerful tools that I have ever used and seen personally in my own life, the changes that it made. Not just in my hormones, in my skin, and so many things. And then just working with my clients, just when I have them just do this exercise every day, this is the feedback they give me of what they think changes the most. So when you visualize, like we said, every thought you think is a physical structure in your brain. So when you're visualizing something, you're physically building a neural pathway in your brain. And so the more you think about it, the more it grows. And your brain doesn't know the difference between something you're imagining and what's real. So if you're imagining you're on a beach and in an amazing, awesome place, your body actually starts to generate the hormones and neurochemicals and neurotransmitters as if you were actually there. So we can actually create hormones and healing hormones that we need to heal just through visualizing. So if every single morning, like we said, the morning is the most powerful time to program your mind and to change your body, if you could just visualize how you do want to look, how you do want to feel, the mindsets that you do want to have, you're physically building in those pathways to make you react that way throughout the rest of your day.
Love it. Love it. So powerful, and so many good tools that people can start to implement. Hey, I'm really keen for our listeners, Megan, to learn where they can find you, because I'm sure they're going to want a little bit more of you after they finish listening to this.
Yeah, so I write a lot, and I pretty much do everything over at renewingallthings.com. And you can just find me on social at renewingallthings in all places.
Love it. Perfect. Well, thank you so very much for joining us today. It's been awesome
thank you guys.
Talk about this is the stuff I love to talk about. But anyway, for all of those who are regulars, make sure that you come back and join us again next time for more Girl Talk Gone Menstrual. But in the meantime, if your hormones are screaming for more, because of course they are, be sure to check out our previous Period Party episodes over on iTunes. And of course, you're going to love what you hear. So then you're going to go and then you're going to review. It's very easy. You just click on the review and you give us 5 stars, and your day is going to be better just because you've done that. And if you do that, I'm very happy to send you a copy. At the moment, our giveaway is a copy of my book, Well and Good, an e-version of that. So, all right, guys, we're all out of time, but we'll see you next time. Thanks, Megan. Thanks,
Thank you so much.